Welcome to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Ain't another place that has got more bombast. Romp past your mom, dad's listening to Tomcats. Talking everything that make you sad. We don't want that. We're here to make you smile. Put your mind at ease. Peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Keanu Reeves. This what we about. This some weeding now. We'll talk until we can't no more, and then we peacing out. Alright, let's go. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome in to another episode of the Penny Bloom Podcast. It is I, Colton Robertson, and today, or should I say, tonight, I'm joined by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
What up, what up? Wish I had the moon in sight for this one.
Yeah.
That would be really cool, but I'm glad to be here, though.
Under the light of the moon would feel much more, I don't know, fitting. As today we begin the Moon Knight's watch. For those who will hear it, they'll hear it, and if they won't, they won't. Yeah, so we're talking Moon Knight every day. Not every day, every week, every Wednesday. You know, we got those Monday episodes, we got those Friday episodes. We figured, why not split the difference? And we'll give you 3 a week here for about 6 weeks. And then again here when Kenobi inevitably rolls around.
Steamrolling.
Yeah, we got a lot of content. You know, there's going to come a point here in the next couple of weeks where we're going to hit 200 episodes.
Let's go, man.
Yeah,
That's so right.
Yeah, very excited about that. But this is 193, I believe. And we're talking Moon Knight. First episode here. Quite the premiere, you know. I don't want to say pleasantly surprised, because I don't know. I got hit with something like going into this for some reason that I was seeing on social media that there was something about this that wasn't fulfilling. And you know, I try to not let those things sway me, but I like Moon Knight a lot. This is one of the first times in the MCU that I'm coming into a show very familiar with the comics character. And it's all I know. It's all I love of the character. So this is, and that's the first time that's ever happened for me in the MCU. So it's been an interesting one to approach. And you know, through the first episode, I'm like, all right, I can see this going a lot of good ways. My only concern is still that 6-episode format. I don't know why we got to keep doing it.
I think if you're completely new to Moon Knight and you've read 0 comics, which I have of Moon Knight, the most I know of this character is that, like, he comes from Egypt, I think, in the pyramids and like the ancient gods. Well, I got that from the first episode now, but I mean, like, that's all I knew before was like Egypt, and he likes pain. Maybe he beats the fuck out of people all the time.
So basically, the origin of Moon Knight, as I understand it, and it's interesting that they frame it in this first episode as Stephen Grant being the main personality of this person. I think the main personality, as it is typically said in comics, is Mark Spector, the one who takes over and is Moon Knight effectively in this series. And I think it further goes to show that Stephen Grant's not exactly his, I don't know how to properly put it, since this is dissociative identity disorder. So
yeah, and they call him the idiot, you know, and you don't want to just call him the idiot.
Whenever he's in control and stuff, and I don't think he's the main, you know. I think it's Mark, and Mark's like, yo, you gotta let me help out here, buddy. Just because, like, you know, Layla calls him, that chick he's missed a bunch of calls from for like a month. You know, she's like, thank God you're alive. She's like, what's with the British accent? Clearly, he's not always been Stephen Grant.
True.
So
I guess maybe it could be he's the most human out of all of them, so that's just the name they're going with.
Yeah,
and it makes sense for comics to go with the most badass version.
There are typically 3 identities, and you'll notice on the promotionals that there's another mask there that's more rounded, and he's in a white suit. and that's Mr. Knight. And theories now are that that's going to be Jake Lockley, the other of Mark Spector's personalities or identities. So that'll be really interesting. And I'm there's a lot of stuff in the trailer that hasn't been shown yet, which I'm also really intrigued by. You know, like we're wading in slow here. And that's kind of my gripe with the 6-episode format here, is that this is for a 6-episode show, this is a little drawn out. I feel like we could have accomplished what this episode accomplishes in about 20 minutes if we needed to.
That's fair. I would say if the gripes on Twitter are to be believed, I can kind of understand. It was kind of unsatisfying to watch. Like, I think unless you know about Moon Knight beforehand and you know all of these cool little details they're mentioning, beforehand, then the episode's not really that satisfying for you until the very end. And I think, like, I could just assume, like, having knowledge of Moon Knight, I would assume there were some Easter eggs thrown in there and a lot of, like, I don't know, things you could only understand if you know the character or know some lore behind him. But I mean, I thought it was just it was setting up such a cool world that we have, like, never seen in Marvel before. Like, this does not feel like Marvel at all. Like,
no, yeah, it's definitely a very original take here, and very visually distinctive from what we've seen a lot of times. It's definitely got its own style, and we're coming with Ethan Hawke and Oscar Isaac, and man, this is one thing I'm really encouraged by the show compared to the other 6 shows, is that our antagonist is a parent. I know who I'm rooting against for sure. Like it's Arthur Harrow. I'm not feeling that guy. Now obviously he's serving the goddess Amit, so like maybe there's something there where we'll meet Amit at the end of the 5th episode into the 6th, which we're almost guaranteed to at this point.
I guess before I move forward, is this, like, in the MCU, or is this just an association with Marvel?
This is in the MCU.
So this is like happening at the same time as all the other shit that we.
All of it's here.
Wow. Okay, that's kind of nuts. I kind of thought for a second that, like, I'm watching something separate here. Is like what I thought. Like,
it feels so. But it feels like a really good first step into that Blade side of the universe. The horror in the more traditional sense.
I guess true. If it did feel like anything, it felt like the Eternals post-credit scene. Like, it was shot kind of, I don't know, like, it just got the same vibe. Like, I guess that's a very short comparison to make, just one post-credit scene.
I think you're right. Like, I when I'm watching this, there's nothing in the MCU right now that I can for sure compare it to. I think one thing that I'm kind of conflicted about in this episode is, but ultimately I've come to the conclusion that it's a good character piece, is the confusion of Stephen Grant throughout this first episode. Like, it's just a series of him waking up and going back under and then waking back up. And it's like, man, like, as bad as I want them to show me what's happening on the other end, it is really, really effective and moving to see how it affects Stephen Grant. It really gives Oscar Isaac a chance to shine as the actor whenever he's sitting at that steakhouse alone, and he's like, that's a powerful scene.
Oh my God. That I remember.
Like, the best part of the steak in the.
I don't know how many times during this episode I went like, "Oh my God, this would just be the worst way to live." Like, I could not imagine. Man. Yeah, like, I could not imagine. And obviously, like, he has this supernatural side to him that I think maybe, like, a general audience member might just think, like, that's what's causing him to be crazy and, like, just justify, like, the multiple personality disorder in a way. And, like, not think about it in a devastating way, but, like, I don't know how many times I was just like, oh my God, like, that like just hopping on a plane or a train, you know, and like and then completely waking up as a different person you would never call family, or like like that could happen. Like I don't know, like it's insane how like realistic this could be, which is just super sad to think about. But
Oh man, no, yeah, it's and that's what's interesting too, is that was one of my questions about this show as it was unfolding, you know, like whenever he looks into a mirror and sees Mark and Mark's talking to him, or Mark doesn't look away when he looks away in a mirror, you know, like that was that freaky shit. And I'm like, so that's the supernatural stuff. Like that's part of the supernatural stuff, which is I think, you know,
well, I
but
guess it could just be portraying what's going on in his head.
true.
So I mean, I guess it's probably a little bit of both. I mean, it's literally like him taking over his body or whatever, saying like, I need control. I guess that's probably how it like how the normal person would think that would happen, I guess.
Right.
Like there's no way to actually know
It's
how that
interesting.
happens.
So in the comics anyway, this character's origin, where it was Mark Spector, the mercenary, nearly died in combat in Egypt, crawled across the desert before a shrine to Khonshu, the moon god of Egypt, and he granted him his life again if he was the servant of the moon, and dealt justice as the moon god saw fit. And you know, we're already in an interesting spot where it's like, I don't know, this is dealing justice at all. It seems like Khonshu's got a personal thing going on, and you know, that's a lot of comic stories. What they end up leading to is Mark having a struggle with Khonshu, like, yo, this ain't justice. This is you just doing whatever you want, you know. And I'm interested to see if that's the direction we're going. Like, we ultimately come to a conclusion where, or maybe not in this series, but down the line even, that Khonshu is selfish and is looking out for him over anybody else. Could be very interesting.
Man, yeah, I was like while watching, I was trying. Like they were throwing in a lot of like ancient Egypt and talks of ancient gods and stuff like that. And I was trying to remember like the best I could of all these things. And I mean, I was just always taken away at like just how this felt. I don't know. Like it felt like it was shot like a movie.
Oh yeah,
but like I just so not Marvel, I guess, is like what I was taken back by like the most. And I don't know, I really like Oscar Isaac. Like just seeing him like in the universe now is
making me so cool. Happy, so happy and interesting now that his Marvel, both his Marvel characters are besides Spider-Man 2099, I should say, but Apocalypse and Moon Knight both tied to ancient Egypt, which is interesting. But yeah, I love me some Oscar Isaac, man, and it's just so nice watching him on screen. You know, like me and Emily gave it a rewatch before the pod here a couple hours ago, and about an hour later, I was like, I want to watch Moon Knight again. She was like, why? And if I'm like being honest, it's because of Oscar Isaac. You know, like he's electric on screen, and right now, he's the one selling me on it. You know, his performance has been so fantastic so far that I'm like, yeah, I can really look forward to where this is going. And you know, any gripes I had about like or any gripes people had, I didn't really have these gripes, but I saw people complain online about how, you know, in the trailer there's that shot of that woman beating that dude's ass and then throwing him off the plank, and he's like, that was awesome, and they're like, I wish the MCU could just let an action scene be an action scene. You don't need one of the characters to comment, that was awesome. And you know what? I can understand that gripe completely. But now knowing Stephen Grant and how soft this dude is, it makes perfect sense that he would say something like that. You know what I'm saying? It's not.
Yeah, he literally can't stop talking. You know, like he has to fill the air with anything. Like he's. It was like even him talking to like the like gold painted man, you know, that was sitting on the bench or whatever. Like, and like, I don't know, like those moments, where it was just really like a nice change of pace, like from just a crazy action sequence where he's waking up and not knowing what he's doing, and like you're all like, "What the fuck's going on?" to just like a nice chillax moment with Oscar Isaac, just hearing him ramble on or something. Like I don't know, it was just it was a constant back and forth, and I guess that's the point of the episode.
Oh
To
yeah,
keep it just
absolutely. These situations intensify, and then he wakes up and they've de-escalated maybe a little bit, but they've put him in a new situation, and he has to get out of it, and they escalate again, and he gets out of it without knowing how he did it, and so on and so forth, and to the point, where Mark takes him for a couple days, and eventually puts him down in bed. He wakes up and thinks it was all a dream. That was that.
So does Mark decide when to go, or is it?
That's my thing. They've made that kind of unclear because at the end there when I think Mark can choose when to spring forth, but that's why he has to speak to him directly at the end and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna take over. You cannot fight me this time." Like every time he's done it, he's fought him on it. Like he's tried to come back. So he's like, I need to stay in control to defeat this guy. So you can't be fighting me. Which is really interesting too. Like it's a really interesting approach to this, to portraying dissociative identity disorder and how they're going to handle it in the show. And, I mean, I wonder if Jake Lockley comes in and Mark Spector doesn't even know about it. Like, what if there's that extra layer to it, or would it be like Mr. Knight? And
did it in the museum when he was leaving? Didn't like an employee call him by the wrong name? Like one letter difference. Like he was Stevie. Like he was like, "See you later." Or some like an employee on the desk, like on the way out, like called him by the wrong name. He's like, "It's Steven with a V." As he walks out.
I didn't catch that.
And like, I'm wondering, like, they don't just throw that in there with multiple personality disorder and like say that that's not like one of his other identities or something like that. And I was wondering if that was like pop up in comics at all. If like, I forgot what he called him though is the thing.
Yeah, I didn't catch that, but yeah, I'll have to watch it again. But this is already one. The more I'm talking about it, the more I'm reflecting lovingly on it.
And this is just the beginning. This is just
exactly.
episode one.
It was one that I'm pleasantly surprised with. Like I said, and it was such an interesting tactic to keep us in it, where it was like the anti-action sequence because it was still an action sequence, but they were like edging us. They were like, they're like, we're not going to show you the good shit with the costume and everything.
We were definitely being, that's a great description of this episode. It's just an edging episode straight. Like, and I think now, like seeing the end of episode, like at the end of this episode, it warrants like it to just get the ball rolling. Like I think like, that's just the big reveal, like it's obviously him. You see him change and like whatever, like for someone who I guess doesn't know of the character at all, like we know it's him, but I guess like in that moment, for sure, that it is
that's what's
now
happening.
him or whatever. It's like,
well, and that's the thing too, is that they didn't make it clear that that's what was happening every time that he took over. Like he was literally putting on the costume.
I think because at the beginning, who was saying like sacrifice the body to Mark or something like that? Like, or was it sacrifice your body for Mark? Like, was someone else talking? Anyway, I found the name. It's Scotty. Was that employee? That is what he called him. He said good night. He's walking out. He says good night, JB, and he says good night, Scotty. And then he's like, Scotty.
That could also just be this guy,
like him. He's an asshole, and he's just looking at his phone or whatever. Yeah. I just didn't. But like, they throw that in there.
No,
like,
that's
why they throw that in there. I don't know if Scotty was like one of his personalities.
Not one that I'm familiar with anyway. Maybe one slipping my mind because, but I know that like I'm pretty sure it's just the three as far as I've read. Mark Spector, Stephen Grant, and Jake Lockley.
Mm.
One interesting divergence from the comics is that Stephen Grant is a rich, high-class citizen and not just a gift shop worker at a museum. It's personally a switch I like. Like, I like the vulnerability of this dude right now. I think it's a really strong character element. And who knows, maybe one day they get us to a point where Stephen Grant can be this tycoon. Like, I just love the idea of Oscar Isaac's Moon Knight staying in this universe for an extended period of time. Like, this isn't the last time we'll see him. It's just the beginning. Like, that's just so fucking awesome for me.
Yeah, I really hope that I guess is this only confirmed to be one season and one season only, or like do we know? Or
I guess we don't know for sure if this is a limited series or if it's a TV show. You know what I'm saying?
I think regardless that they can get a lot accomplished in 6 episodes. I just think, like, because we see in the trailer that he's like in Egypt, right? Is that like? I would assume they're going to dive deeper into his origin to explain everything. Like,
I'm sure we'll get some flashback sequences of Spectre doing his shit. Because Arthur Harrow goes, I know who you are, mercenary. Like, you're a mercenary. And he's like, I'm no mercenary. I'm lost. I need to
London.
Yeah, he is.
I don't know why I'm saying it like that. Yeah, like man, I
London.
It was so like he had to fill the air, like no matter what. Like it was
and
so
he was
huge.
funny,
like,
dude.
Yeah,
Without even knowing he was funny, like he's like an avatar. Yeah, like blue people love that movie.
The anime.
Yeah, that was pretty fucking funny. But it was so interesting to give us so much of Arthur Harrow so early on. You have an idea of, you have a really good idea of what this dude's up to, what his goals are.
That's true. They show it to you right there. Like, pretty openly.
I'm trying to make this heaven on earth as close to it as possible, and Ahmet can tell us that.
What was he had a name on the phone. It was like Layla, and then there was one other name.
Oh,
Dumb bits. Oh, it started with a D, I think. It
started with a D and had a B, a capital B.
Dumb Bash? I'm looking at it right now. Let's see, scrolling down. Dutch Amp. Duchamp.
Duchamp. I think
it was number 32, if that matters. I don't think that matters. It's just a number of missed calls, but yeah. Duchamp or Duchamp? Interesting. I don't know. I was trying to notice like any little detail that I could, because like I don't know anything of the character, so I can't really like pick out anything. But I guess like to try to theorize and stuff. But
I think he might have just been a military man who he worked with when he was a mercenary. So that would mean, yeah, that was Mark's phone, because Layla thought, because he was like, why are you calling me Mark?
Man. And I was just scrolling through the episode, and I got to when he's at the restaurant and he orders a steak, and he's just like,
"Oh man, that's
I'll
such
take
a
like the best
devastating-"
cut. I'll take the best cut, just like the best part." And he's like,
okay. How would you like that done? Good, very good.
Oh, and he said, "Well done." And it's like, oh, you're gonna get a fillet well done, dude. That's gonna be so sad. Like, oh, like you're getting the best steak, best part of the steak, cooked just like baked, basically. But
damn shame, man. Oh, this poor guy. He's like, and that's the thing, is that they've already created a character I'm sympathizing so deeply with, and that I just want the best for, especially in Stephen Grant, as far as we know him so far. And they've created what seems to be a pretty complicated badass in Mark Spector, because this man killing.
He's
murdering
pretty efficiently, it seems.
Yeah.
What was this pendant thingy?
Now that's another thing. I think that's going to be, it's either going to play into what Khonshu wants done, or like it prevents Arthur Harrow from being able to do something, or it's what causes Moon Knight to answer to Khonshu. And right now, I'm most inclined to believe the third option, simply because, I mean, everything just seems, he was like, "Don't you drop that pendant." Like, I just think it makes the most sense as of right now.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was like known to be anything or
not as far, like, I feel like it would have been a pretty big oversight of mine to not remember that from the comics as being what causes his connection to Khonshu.
And the decision to like not show his fate, like on the tattoo. Did you like they didn't show what it said? Was it presumed?
They showed that it didn't come to the conclusion. It was like,
oh wait, really?
Yeah, it just kept shaking back and forth.
I thought that it did that no matter what. And then they because they were both still looking at it, and then like the camera wasn't showing it. It was like they were both looking. And then they saw it, and he goes, "There's chaos in you," and that's all he said.
I think the first time it shook a little bit, went green, shook a little bit, went red, and this dude was like,
true. It did go from true. It did. Okay, fair.
And I was thinking he was like, "Oh shit, dude. You have like the most uncertain future I've ever seen."
I guess they did. I don't know. They did watch it for a while after, though. Maybe it was just going back and forth from green to red, like just over and over again or something. Maybe. But yeah, man, that was like creepy. Whenever like after that altercation, whenever he starts like walking away, and he starts to get chased, you see like the reflections. Of like, and I don't know that like this is like I don't know, they're doing some pretty good horror stuff, and I'm excited to see this.
It's kind of freaky, man. Like whenever he was going down the elevator and he got down there and Khonshu was at the end of the hall, and he started walking towards him, bro. Oh my god! And the way they handled him, like the lady getting on the elevator next to him and being like, "Oh god," like, "Oh fuck," and him being like, "Hello, how are you doing?" He's like, "Man, electrical problems."
I would have liked to seen what that old lady saw, that I don't know. It's just another part of the edging part of the episode is that because wait a minute, did Mark take over, get off the elevator, fight Khonshu, and then get back in the elevator as Steven?
No. Like that was just him. He was seeing Khonshu.
Wait, so she just freaked out over his just reaction of him being on the ground? So,
okay. I think she also saw him watch her walk to the elevator in horror and then screech back. Because
that's fair. So she would have just been okay. That's fair.
Yeah, because she.
Wait a minute.
The only times he switches is every time he like blinks and looks up. And
so he didn't like. There wasn't a time gap in between the old lady and seeing Khonshu at all. That was just like him envisioning
that was one after the other. It's interesting because they kind of portray Khonshu as a hallucination the rest of the episode. The way he looks out the bus window and it just
that's true. I guess he is something. Just okay. That's true. It's not. Yeah, I guess I'm just combining the two things and always thinking that it's like a time jumper or because of his personality disorder, but.
No, yeah, I mean it would make sense.
Makes more sense.
But I think it makes it clear that it's not just one of his identities that's connected to Khonshu. Like it's this person, and all of them have to grapple with what's going on here. He has to grapple with it, no matter what, and that's it'll be interesting to see how all three of his identities handle it. Seems like Mark's kind of digging it.
Man, I'm I don't know. This seeing like Ethan Hawke, like I don't know. He just seems like he's gonna fit this role just super well.
Oh, he looks
Um,
fantastic as an MCU villain, man. I'm loving
mm,
this so far, and I'm like holding out like a little bit of hope that like I don't know how this would work, but that he's like Dracula or something. That he's
mm,
like a vampire. I feel like it'd be so cool to tie into Blade. Because he just has that look about him, but he
that's
also has
true.
this
The
he has this
hair,
earthly
certainly.
prophet thing that he's like he thinks he's a savior of some
Mm.
sort. I don't know. Maybe that's my thing is I don't know why Dracula would be serving a god. You know.
His
Uh,
hair does scream vampire to me, though.
yeah.
Looking at him right now, I'm watching the scene where they're looking at the tattoo. I just wanted to see how long it doesn't show it for. Yeah, it's not actually as long as I thought it was. I thought there was a lot more like longer time between the camera not showing it. I guess what I was thinking is that like um I thought it arrived at a solution eventually. Instead of it just being the fact that it couldn't arrive at a solution.
Gotcha.
And that just makes more sense. Like that it obviously couldn't come to a solution here. Um but but yeah, he's definitely given off some vampire or something supernatural. I mean, I don't know. There's something supernatural going on with him. I
Oh
think
yeah,
that's pretty
definitely. I
pretty
mean,
apparent. But
pretty. Oh yeah, I mean, like, what the fuck is that thing he summoned at the end of the episode? What was going on there? How did he have access to that?
and how
Um,
like did he just suck the soul out of that woman? You know, like
yeah, and like that's
and what does that mean? Does that like fuel him? Does
I
that give him power, or like is that how he stays alive?
I'm under the impression right now that Arthur Harrow is to the goddess Ammit what Mark Spector and Stephen Grant is
Hmm.
to Khonshu. Like he is their
That's
avatar.
okay. That's fair.
Um,
Hmm.
is like how
Oh
I'm
yeah.
guessing they're going to present that. Um, However, he did say something about how that Amit's avatar betrayed her or something like that. And I can't really put my finger on what that actual interaction was, but there was something along those lines.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. This is. I don't know. I'm thinking back to like WandaVision episode 1, Loki episode 1, or Falcon and Winter Soldier. I guess not really Falcon and Winter Soldier, but like how much we could theorize and be like, oh, where is this going?
Mm.
I guess
Hey,
it's.
first time we're jumping in dry, man.
Mm,
We've never had an original character to a Disney Plus series.
mm.
They've always been involved earlier, like that's it's
I
always how it's gone.
I feel like this show um is going to be a lot easier for people to get into. Like
Mm.
anyone. I feel like this could just be a recommendation for like a non-Marvel fan because it doesn't really feel Marvel at all. You don't see Iron Man. You don't see
No, not your
any
traditional superhero
yeah.
action
I
stuff
mean
going on.
this has a very like I don't know, DC vibe in my opinion.
Mythological feel.
Yeah, this is like I don't know. This is just I think just going to be a good show. Like just in
I
general,
think so
not
too.
as a superhero show. I think like the drama aspects and the actual like realness of the show and take apart all the supernatural or superhero aspect of it. I think just seeing how Oscar Isaac handled this episode 1, I can't imagine like we get 5 more episodes of this. I'm actually kind of stoked that we get 5 even more 5, 5
Oh
instead of
yeah, I am too.
not
Like
necessarily
I'm
10
more
or whatever,
excited
but
now than I was, a night ago.
mm,
I'm very much so like, yeah, now I'm in. I was shaky going into it last night. I was like, I'm looking forward to it, but I'm a tamper my excitement a little bit. Don't get my hopes up too high. And right now, can't help it. That was a good premiere.
what was the whole thing about the fish with one fin and it growing back?
All right, so that part, I have my theory that Mark or Jake replaced the fish after accidentally killing the fish potentially. Um, I think it's going to be a real simple explanation and not one like he grew his fin back. Like I think it's going to be something like that.
Because the
he said
title
like
of the episode is The Goldfish Problem. That's the title of the episode, which is kind of interesting. But that makes sense if
well, because, you know, the worker says, you know, I told you when you were here yesterday, man. And he was like, I wasn't here yesterday. So you were there yesterday and you got another fish.
I guess maybe was the fish tank. No, that was on a different table. I'm trying to. Do they replace the blue tape themselves?
Fish.
And then they just put the ankle brace back on, basically. Like, so they like Mark walks in, puts the blue tape back on the door, lays in bed, puts the ankle. Okay, that's what I figured. But it kind of So I guess does Steven just think that these are dreams or that these are actually happening to him?
I don't he's not aware at all that these things
like
are happening.
Now. Or
and even now I don't think he's fully aware what's happening. I think it's more of a oh shit, I'm gonna just like I think he was just like I don't think I have any other choice right now. I'll have to go with this. But I think maybe there will be some sort of resolution because you know, it'll be interesting if Mark is familiar with the diagnosis. Like knows that this is something happening to him. Meanwhile, Steven is one of the identities who can't grasp it, isn't aware that it's happening. That would be very interesting, you know, and I hope I'm not offending anybody, and I hope that's potentially how that actually works, you know, like I'm unfortunately not very informed on the topic at hand. But so if I'm just talking out my ass, I'm sorry, but right now, I think that would be an interesting direction to take the characters. Like Mark has to talk to Steven and like in the mirror, and like it'll be interesting to see if we get more interactions between Oscar Isaac and himself.
There was one other moment that I'm like, oh, it was just gum. I think at the very beginning, he walks up to the pyramid. Like a display pyramid, and there's like this little hole in it, and he picks something out of it, and I thought like it was like some like an item or something that like or whatever. It was just a piece of gum, and that's it. I thought that was special, but
well, there was another interesting part of Arthur Farrow and Stephen Grant's interaction in the museum that I'm just now come to think of it. Whenever he goes. He's explaining to him that like this is what Amit did. She could see the past, present, and future, and could judge the sin of all your entire life and whether or not you're. And he was like, "Well, they must have left that out of the books." So is that? I feel like that might be an important one. Like it's not something that is known to be the case for Amit. It's like maybe this guy is abusing Amit's power in a way. Could be interesting if that ends up being something. Just trying to think of different ways these theories could go. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you know we don't truly know the motives of Arthur Farrow right now. I mean, we know as of right now, it seems like he wants to have heaven on earth, and therefore they must judge the sinners. Which, I mean, he seems to be pretty steadfast by that. But if there's anything else going on, we're unfamiliar as of right now. And, you know, it's superhero TV.
So his plan is just to go around the world judging one by one and killing anyone, you know, like.
My money is that he wants to figure out a way to do this on a grand scale. Like, one fell swoop, judge them, you know. Like, and that would be a pretty massive supernatural event. I'm assuming that Moon Knight would have to tamper, and I think that'd be a really fucking interesting direction for this show. And yeah, man, I'm just really excited right now, especially because like this is a realm that's not magic.
Mm.
You know, like it's not necessarily magic, but it's magic tangential.
Oh yeah, like I mean, supernatural and magic, I feel are kind of synonymous. Not truly, but I guess in like in
They can
TV
bleed into
show,
one
yeah, and
another.
yeah, they feel kind of similar in the same vein. And I mean, we have Scarlet Witch, and like stuff like that. We have the Darkhold, and like things like that are being read. So I mean, like it's already in universe that like sort of the supernatural side exists, but now we're just seeing it like right in front of our face, which is
We've questioned previously any ties Moon Knight could have to Multiverse of Madness, and it seems like if there was to be any tie, it'd be on that front, on the Arthur Farrow side of things, not really, not necessarily the Moon Knight side of things, which is mad interesting,
Did we
And
ever
I'm interested in
figure
how they're
out?
going to handle like the Egyptian gods, like they exist,
Yeah,
like they're
true. I mean, I guess like with Eternals and stuff, I feel like in the future that there's going to be a lot more gods and stuff showing up.
It'll be interesting just figuring out what like the
What
tiers to this
exists
shit
and
is.
what like
Yeah.
they choose to bring in, like what religion is old enough to where there's no. I guess there are no. That's still like a very like a very prominent religion.
Yeah.
But I guess like some people will think about it as just like, oh, that's just ancient Egypt stuff. I don't know. That is interesting. Wonder if like this will be the only like
Yeah, I
religious
wonder if they
tie that
even make an
Marvel even.
attempt at it.
Yeah.
Like if they're just like, fuck it, man. This is just Khonshu, Khonshu and Ahmed are characters. And it is marvelized, like in like comics lore, Khonshu was like Thor's nephew or something like that. Like
Wow.
because one of Thor's distant sisters was gave birth to Khonshu.
Wow. This whenever he goes up into the little wood panel and finds the burner phone and a key, do we ever figure out what that key goes to yet?
I don't know that we have.
I think yeah, it's a key, and I was trying to look at the like. There's a like a logo. It's like I don't. Well, I can't really share my screen because Disney Plus doesn't allow it. But it's like a letter. It's either a J or a U, but it's like a red and white square with a U in the middle. A white U in the middle of a red square, basically. And it's just a singular key. Maybe that was just his house key, Mark's wherever he lived previously before, or something along those lines.
I'm
but,
sure we'll figure it out, and I think I also think it's interesting that wood paneling up there is like obviously meant to evoke the imagery of a suit. It looks just like his wrappings at the end, which I think is kind of cool.
Oh, that's okay. I see.
He's got obvious taste.
I see that. Yeah, no. Whenever he's walking in the street and he puts his hood up and it's just a white, white hood, I was like, oh, that's just kind of cool. Like I don't know anything about this character, but I've seen the suit and I know how badass it looks, and the white hood just does it. I don't know. It looks sick.
Oh, it's such a good looking suit, man. And seeing it at the end, it's also interesting now seeing that the thing he was beating the shit out of in the last shot of this, and what was the big trailer moment as well, was not a human. It was a supernatural entity, some sort of demon being. It seems like that he beats to an absolute pulp. And like that last shot where like the sink flies out of the room and then you see the fucking thing try to claw out, like it's trying to escape. And
yeah, initially you don't know who's winning necessarily, like maybe Adam or
Steven?
No, is
Mark?
Adam Mark. Thank you. Wow. Um, maybe Mark didn't take over in time. Possibly, maybe he's and Steven's just getting the shit beat out of him. But then you just see,
And,
yeah,
like
and
it
it's like,
leaves a
oh
scratch mark on
shit,
the
like
door, and it's like
he is nice with it. Like whatever he's doing in there, holy
he
crap.
like even earlier in the episode when he had 4 dudes on him, like 4 or 5 dudes on him, and he was like he like only faded out for like a couple seconds. It seemed like.
Yeah, I don't. Dude has some skill. Man, I'd very curious to see like what next episode brings. If it's like if it'll jump back, and like give us a lot more backstory, or if it'll just move forward. And I'm I don't know.
interested to see if they do that all in like one take, like one scene. They're like, yeah, here's the whole backstory, or if it's something we'll like go back to and get in bits and pieces. It'd be interesting, but I'd be willing to bet it's probably one scene. It seems like this is a story they're going to be pushing forward, ever forward. You know what I'm saying? Like it feels like we're going to hit the ground running.
I guess it makes sense. We start like when Steven, like basically only a couple weeks into Steven being Steven.
Right.
Or I guess how long has Steven been in London for? Have we calling you for months? Did Layla
a month
say?
and a half or something.
Oh, month
like
and a half. Okay.
Which implied to me that at least what I'm getting from that is that that's when Mark went on his mercenary job that led to him nearly dying and him pledging himself to Khonshu. Happened about a month and a half ago. And it seems like Mark's already been pursuing this Arthur Faro thing because, we see him wake up at his place and he's stolen that beetle thing. So like he's doing something there, he's
it's true. And people are already like
we got dropped in the middle of this, which is frankly exciting. We don't get that a lot, but we got dropped right in the middle of it this time, and I'm very much so looking forward to what that could bring in terms of story elements. Because I mean, I didn't expect Arthur Harrow and Stephen Grant to come face to face in this episode and like him try to judge him and like nearly face death in the first episode. I was like, wow, okay, we're getting right to it.
So I guess he really sticks to his guns since it didn't come to a decision. Like he couldn't, like he probably wanted to kill him there, in that instance, right? But he let him go.
Well,
Or was it because like people were walking in?
Well, that's the thing about Arthur Harrow too, is that like, I mean, obviously he's obviously not the nicest guy. But it does seem right now very genuinely like it's up to the judgment of Amit. Like if she says so, then yeah, you're gonna die.
Damn, it could be something in the future. I'm sorry, goodbye. That was like just seeing that old lady die. He'd be like, I've been good my whole life, and then just oof.
That he was like, oh shit. And then he said that phrase in Egyptian and everyone got down on their knees and he was like, bollocks. And that shit was just funny, man. Oscar Isaac, I can't get over how good he is in this.
I guess I mean
expect
Arthur already knew who he was right there. He recognized him right then and there.
I know who you are. Mercenary.
So I mean, obviously, we're right in the middle of this. Whatever's been happening.
He's been pursuing them for who knows how long. I'm just real interested. And yeah, Duchamp is another, or Ducamp, however you want to pronounce it, is another guy who was a mercenary who worked with Mark and eventually becomes like his pilot in his moon copter.
He is a moon copter.
Yeah,
that is sick.
Well, he's like that's the thing too, is that I can't tell if like this guy has money hidden somewhere, like he actually has money and he's just living this life for now. But in the comics, this man has money. Like he,
I guess it makes sense for his other personality not to. I guess why wouldn't Mark?
Mark lives there too, like he puts his phone up in the up in the ceiling and stuff. Well, does he put his phone up in the ceiling? Because he wasn't taking calls for a month and a half. Like, so like, was he tending to that? I don't know. That's interesting.
There was some other stuff in that hole, actually. Like when the camera went inside of the hole, and I was trying to see if there was any like anything relevant. I think it was just kind of random stuff to put in there. Maybe nothing else important, but I was kind of wondering like, why, like why he would need to hide, like if he put that there a month and a half ago and he left it there the whole time, or if he's constantly going back and forth with this phone. Like it seems that he's drugged that table a lot of times. Like there's a lot of scratches on the floor. So like he checks
Maybe
the phone
he's
and
just not worrying about his phone.
Yeah, he checks the phone. I'm assuming this is like his wife, or
I'm assuming it's his wife or girlfriend or partner.
So if he's checking this phone, like
he's ignoring her.
Yeah.
But maybe he thinks like, yo, I just need to ignore it. Like, there's no way this is good for you. Like I just got to let you go for now. And I think that's something like I look forward to getting an emotional development with Mark too. You know, right now he's the killer, but I'd be willing to bet that he's got some more complication to him than that. And that's what's ultimately exciting about this. You know, I talked about how it's the first time I engaged with the comics character before I engaged with them on screen. And you know, I'm looking forward to them, and I invite any liberties they want to take. I invite anything as long as they do it well, you know. And right now, I'm digging it. So you won't hear too many gripes unless I just genuinely don't like the direction they take. But right now, I'm digging it. You know,
I'm excited. Yeah, I think what they got here is pretty good. I don't know really where it's going, but I'm excited to see where it does go. I don't know. I feel like Marvel's in their bag right now. They've got some good stuff and amazing casting. They've always had amazing casting, and I think Oscar Isaac is just going to fill this role super well.
Do we do episodic ratings?
Ooh, I was going to mention that on IMDb this is given an 8.9 so far.
That's strong.
So yeah. I don't know if that's the entire show or just episode 1. Yeah, 8.7 now, I guess, as more flooding in probably. But that's 5,000 ratings already. 8.7 out of 10. I guess you want to do our rating system, enjoyment, film, and genre.
I don't see why not.
Okay. Let me pull up the grand old Excel real quick so I can get some quick averages. All right. Here we go. Enjoyment wise, I guess this would probably be where it would fall a little bit from like our usual numbers that we have for movies and stuff, you know, where we have like a 4.5 for enjoyment. Like, I mean, this is Marvel and I'm going to enjoy anything they put up here.
That's a fact.
But like out of, if we're just doing this as like a single episode, like how much will I think I'll enjoy this episode versus like a season finale, you know? Like I feel like, yeah.
And that's the thing. We're taking it as is. You know, how do we feel about this installment? Regardless of how the rest of the series goes. This is where we've started, and how are we feeling about it?
I'd say like it was a little slow, but not anything too bad.
Not at all.
And the end was satisfying, seeing the switch, you know, and it keeps you itching to come back for more. Like, no way you're going to watch episode 1 and be like, I'm done with this show. I feel it definitely makes you want to come back. I don't know. I'd say like maybe like a 4, maybe a little bit lower. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe like 4 to 4.25. I feel.
Yeah, I was thinking 4.25 is probably fair. You know, I think that I enjoy, maybe 4 is more about where I'm feeling, because as I was watching it the first time, I wasn't too terribly in. It was when I rewatched it that I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, I'm feeling this direction. I'm all right with what we're doing. But in terms of pure enjoyment, it took a second, and therefore it can't be too terribly high. But yeah, I think a 4 is fair.
Now the genre, I guess superhero, supernatural, or I guess this is, I don't know. Is this just superhero or?
I'd go supernatural. You got to define it at some point, and even beyond superhero, just as a supernatural show. I think this is doing pretty good.
I think it's and I said this before, but I feel like this is going to be a show that's very easy for anyone to get into, like non-superhero fans. And usually the best superhero movies, like The Dark Knight or Logan, or are usual movies that don't seem like they're superhero movies. They just are great movies. And this is kind of feeling the same already. So I don't know. Like it's kind of genre breaking in that way, that it doesn't feel superhero necessarily.
Right.
But is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? I
think it's a pretty good thing, and and obviously, I think as far as supernatural superhero goes, this is pretty damn good. So I go 4.75 on this one.
I'm
feels
glad. I was right there as well. That's the number I was thinking in my head. I think it's honestly only going to go up from here. Like,
I think so too.
This is just the very start. We're supposed to be confused. I think we're just following in Steven's footsteps, and the more Steven figures out, the more the show is going to get way better, and like we're going to have all this explanation and stuff.
Absolutely. Here's where I'm sitting though, is that as this episode is concerned, as much as I did enjoy it, I think as a premiere in a 6-episode series, it is much weaker than it is a premiere in a 10-episode series. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that is fair.
This I don't think this developed enough of the story that needed to be developed, and we'll see. But from a standpoint right now, I feel like,
I guess what's the end goal of this series?
Right.
Is it just
no
to
way to
introduce
tell right
this
now.
character into the MCU to have him in movies, or is it will we get a complete story? I feel like the story will be complete enough, or else that's not going to be satisfying for a show.
Exactly.
But I'm curious to see like how much time will pass, from the show, what implications this has with the MCU, if we have any tie-in at all.
And I will also say, as far as television, the medium is concerned, and if we're rating this as an episode of television, MCU television is not formatted the way television is, I'd argue, supposed to be, where they film a 6-hour movie and divide it wherever they see fit.
True.
Whereas typical television will have, obviously, a through line, but an arc per episode. Like, there will be a story that unfolds over the course of it, and I don't think we got that. I think we got a bunch of setup. Like, we got to the end of Act 1, and now we're waiting for the rest of the story. And I think it's got to be. It won't get damaged too much by that. Because it was still very, very well made. I loved the soundtrack, loved the acting. It was very well done.
I think, I don't know. I think as a film, I shot really well. Performed really well. But I guess the main, story, that is a huge part, of the film ranking. And we always say that, like, depending on how good the story was, like that can at times overweigh how it was shot. Like a movie, like Trainspotting, or no, that was shot beautifully. I don't know what I'm saying, but I don't know. I'm trying to think of.
We had one recently.
Maybe
where
Shawshank. the story's just so
Yes.
good that you don't really care how it's shot. You're just seeing the events that happen. It's not really particularly beautiful, but the story's just so good that that's what carries it. And in this case, we don't really have a whole lot of story.
And then 7 was the vice versa.
Mm.
We thought it looked beautiful, but the story was like, well, we're a little lack here.
There we go. But here, I don't really think the filmmaking brings it up a whole lot, you know. I think the performance should be recognized of Oscar Isaac so far, for sure. But
I think I'm landing around 4. Probably around a 4. 4.15, 4.2, somewhere in that range.
Let's see. If we give it all the way down to a 4, it averages the episode out to a 4.25.
Which is an 8.5 out of 10.
And all the way up to a 4.25 is a 4.33, so an 8.6. I feel like 4.25 overall felt right.
All right, I'm there with that.
And I feel like maybe after seeing where this show goes, this episode makes a lot more sense. You know, where maybe we feel a little bit more satisfied, or I don't know, something along those lines. But as of right now, I feel like I am kind of with you that more probably could have been done, knowing that we're only getting 5 more episodes. So I guess kind of feels a little low. I think maybe the bump from 4
4.15
to 4.15 for Oscar Isaac's performance, and overall a 4.3. I'm liking that.
I'm liking that too. I'm liking that too. So a 4.3 out of 5 stars episode, and that's I feel pretty good about that to kick off the Moon Knight's watch. It was a good first episode. Could have been better. But you know, our enjoyment's always going to be there when it comes to the Marvel stuff, so it's always going to be a loving reflection, typically. But yeah, any last thoughts here on the first episode of Moon Knight?
See, I'm going to make a crazy prediction that is not going to come true, but if it does, then I'm going to be really happy I got on episode 1. Let's see. Hiroshima shows up in this series. It's not going to happen, but
man, I like it though. I like where your head's at.
I guess what if you were to think of any tie-in that could happen in the show, if we could see any character pop up or any implication towards a character, who do you think it would be? Blade. I guess other than Blade and like Black Knight.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think Black Knight. I think he's still too. Like, it seems like they've already, with the inclusion of Blade in that post-credit scene, it seems like they're pushing him up to be an established vampire hunter. Like, he's hunted and killed vampires, but that hasn't been a prominent problem in the MCU to this point. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that's kind of the direction we're going with that. So I feel like if anyone's going to come and be like, yo, you need help, let me help you, I'm with that. Or in any capacity, I think it'd be Blade. Especially since we need expansion on Black Knight before he can be Black Knight.
Maybe that's why we got so little of Dane Whitman in Eternals, is because he was going to pop up in Moon Knight or something like that. And this is where we get more of explanation of him.
I mean, I would love to get some Kit Harington alongside Oscar Isaac. That'd just be a dream of mine come true. But we shall see. We shall see indeed. But yeah, with that, we got a 4.3 out of 5-star episode in Moon Knight episode 1. Hell of a way to kick off the Moon Knight's watch. And with that, I was Colton Robertson. I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. If you would, head to patreon.com/CoroBloom, where you'll find over 24 hours of exclusive content, and all that money goes back into making sure I can put this podcast on. So that's much appreciated. And then if you would, head to Twitter and follow at PennyBloomPod, and follow on Instagram at PennyBloomPodcast. And remember, peace, love, and bloom. And always praise Oscar Isaac.